Good evening. Welcome to the Millbrae School District meeting for March 6, 2018. I'd like to call on Sophia Chung to lead us in the flag salute. So if you could come forward.
Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Sophia.
Very nice.
I have a granddaughter named Sophia who also attended Green Hills, so I didn't mess up the name. Okay, we just concluded a closed session. A couple of items were undertaken in that closed session. Board action was taken to non-reelect the following position: employee SAI teacher for mild or moderate, 6 to 8 at Taylor. Will not be reelected for the 18-19 school year. We also had some IDA requests. IDA 1819001 was denied. IDA 1819002 was denied. IDA 1819003 was denied. And IDA 1819004 was denied. Okay, so moving forward, I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Ferrario, seconded by Trustee Musa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. The agenda is approved. And now we have time for a wonderful presentation from Green Hills School. Mr. Peter Fong, Principal.
Good evening, esteemed board members, Superintendent Faber-Sert and Cabinet. I'm actually going to bring up one of my fabulous teachers, Miss Gina Mirando, to talk about our third grade invention convention.
All right, hello everyone. So like Mr. Fong said, my name is Gina Mirando. I teach third grade at Green Hills. And we do something the past 2 years called the Invention Convention. So it's set up like a science fair, but instead of just a science project, the kids have to come up with an invention that solves a problem. So it is one of our favorite parts of the whole year in third grade. And so the kiddos have to come up with a solution to a problem that they see in their everyday lives. And it can range from something super simple, like we had somebody create a fan that goes at the end of their pencil, so when they come in from recess or lunch from running around and they're really hot, they can cool down. Or something like a community problem. We had one student this year who made a trash picker-upper on their bicycle, so they could ride their bike around town and also pick up trash while they were doing that. So it's really designed to get kids to see a problem, come up with an idea to solve it, and then see that idea through from beginning to end, even if their finished product looks different than what they were expecting at the beginning, or if they had to change their design a few times. Just like we're solving a problem in the real world, your solution might look different at the end than you thought at the beginning. And so that's really what I want them to focus on, and coming up with an idea, overcoming challenges that they may face, and seeing it all the way through from beginning to end. So to make this more manageable for both the students, parents, and myself with all the classes, we break up the Invention Convention into 2 different stages. So the first stage is the design process, and the kids and I spend at least one whole science class period, sometimes a little bit more, where I give them the whole packet. We outline the entire project, what it's going to look like, and then in their packet they have some different brainstorming ideas to help them get their ideas flowing. We look at other student inventions that people have come up either in previous years or at different schools that are doing the same kind of thing. And then they go home, they finalize their idea, kind of come up with what are they going to invent, what problem are they solving, and then they turn in a patent to me that basically just tells me what materials they're going to need to create it, a rough sketch of their project, and how it's going to work. And so once the patent is signed off, then they can start building their invention at home. And they also, as they're building their invention, they're keeping an inventor's journal at home as well throughout the design and building process, so they can write about progress that they're making, problems that they might have encountered, victories that they've had, and just different kind of like updates about their design along the way. And it's great for me to see at the end because I can really read and see everything that they went through in this whole process, which is really fun. And then for our in-class curriculum, while students are building their invention at home, in school, in class, we are talking all about famous inventors and their different kinds of invention processes. So students learn that most inventions don't work the first time, and you have to come back maybe even the 100th time to figure it out. So not giving up, that perseverance and really solving that problem. And what can you do if you run into a problem? How can you overcome that hurdle? What changes can you make for your design in order for it to be successful? But they know that all great inventors, they don't give up. They just keep adding parts and changing it until it works. And if their final product looks different than what they thought at the beginning or even the middle, that's fine too. And as we're building the inventions, I'm sending letters home as well, getting progress reports turned in from the students, and just trying to keep generally everybody on track throughout this process. Then the second part of this project is done totally in class, because I think it's not only great for the students to have complete control over their presentation boards, but it's also really fun for the parents and the family members who have been hearing about this project and working on it at home to come in and have a little bit of a surprise too when they come to the actual invention convention, and they can really see all the hard work and effort and time that the kids have put into this. So what we do is we start out by just writing a rough draft, what their problem was, what their solution was, the materials they used, how the inventions were made, their results, and then finally a project reflection. After we have this rough draft completed, the students actually type out all of their writing that they did, and then we print it out, and parents can send in pictures to me of the kids working on their inventions at home, and I will print those out as well. And then we begin putting together our board. So they have a general design of like how it should be laid out, but then they can kind of put their own spin on it. They can include as many pictures as they want about it. They draw a picture of their invention, they label all the different parts, and then they can decorate their board really in any way that they choose. So it's always really fun to see what they come up with, because they're always unique, creative, and super impressive to everybody. So it's really fun. And then finally, the actual day of the invention convention comes. So it's the most exciting part. And the student inventors, they bring all their completed inventions, their presentation boards, and we put them all out on display in the George Carwat Center at Green Hills. And then we have a special time in the morning that parents and family members can come and look at all the different inventions, and the kids are totally ready to answer any questions that parents or visiting friends or family might have about their invention process, how it works. They can give a little demonstration. And then after the parents leave, we open it up for the rest of the kids at the school to come down and check it out as well. And it's always a really fun day, because the upper grade kids can look back and remember at the time that they did the invention convention, and then the younger ones are excited that they're going to be in third grade once and get to do this as well. So it's really fun to see all of it come together and all their hard work and the months of planning and the work at home. And so it's just a really great way that I love it because we get to work with the parents and the kids, and just really come together and create these amazing projects. And it's always so impressive to see what they come up with. It's really amazing. So yeah, I have, if these work, we have one that's in the video that is actually here to give his presentation in person. But I do have a couple of videos, if they'll work, talking. And this is filmed at the Invention Convention the day of. So let's see. It might not be available. But never fear, because I have 3 third graders that did the Invention Convention this year that can come up, Quincy, Evie, and Isabella, that can share their experience about the Invention Convention. So we also have some of the presentation boards here as well that they did. So guys, Quincy, what was your invention? You want to?
My invention was I called it the spring shoes, so most people don't or can't afford for some reason a trampoline, and then some kids want a trampoline. So I took a bunch of household materials and put together kind of like trampoline shoes and I basically put springs on slabs of wood and then put straps on that.
And it was awesome. Thank you.
Did it work?
And then,
You want to share?
My invention was the Back-It jacket, and it's like if you forget your jacket on a cold day, then you could have a jacket folded into your backpack. My invention was the double-sided cup, and if you go to school and you want 2 drinks, you could put water on one side and lemonade on the other side.
All right, and that is just our little overview of the Invention Convention. So it's really fun. I know that the kids enjoy it. I always enjoy seeing all the projects that they come up with, and we always just have a really good time with it. So thank you for your time. And Mr. Fung, thank you.
Peter, if I could just make a quick comment before we proceed. I know that Nike, REI, and Starbucks will be contacting the campus for ideas. So thank you very much for that. Much appreciated.
No, I think you need to patent that idea pretty soon before someone takes it. And I was just wondering, when does it occur? What time of year?
So we do it the kiddos get the assignment around the end of October, and then the Invention Convention is usually the second week of December.
Thank you. Is this the first year or
This was the second year.
second year? Are you planning on sharing this with the other schools?
Yes, I definitely.
Is that a possibility? It's a great idea. Thank you.
All right. Well, I was going to start actually by apologizing that we don't have as wonderful as attendance as I would have liked, but we actually have almost half of our school is gone at Coloma overnight. I'll show you some pictures that I got from today of all the parent volunteers that are there. And then the other is that we have a gala debrief and celebration dinner going on tonight. However, we have one of the co-chairs who should be there but came here, and I think we need to put our hands together for Tiffany Peterson. Who is going to be celebrated, I'm sure, at that dinner, and very appropriately so. I won't steal Superintendent Faber-Surt's thunder, but I'm sure they'll tell you the amount made at the gala, and it was incredible. So that's where a lot of the other Green Hills parents, because Ms. Deason here recruited all of her friends and all the Green Hill volunteers. So a large majority of them are at that celebration, and deservedly so. So anyways, so for my portion, I was going to talk about the LCAP, and then I thought, well, I would try to put some pictures together because pictures are worth 1,000 words. So, of course, our LCAP starts with LCAP Goal 1, which is high quality instruction. And Ms. Miranda was, of course, an incredible example of what high quality instruction looks like at Green Hills. But I also have some other pictures of various teachers doing their craft here at Green Hills. We have Miss Althouse teaching literature. We have a writing activity with Miss Hickman over here, and we have a small group in our learning center. So, but of course, learning goes beyond that. And so in this picture, we actually have the Cole Mansion project, and that follows along LCAP goals, actually kind of 1, 2, and 3. It's, you know, showing the kids that we care about what's important to them. So whether you're an artist or you're a musician or you're a dancer, that we care about you and what's important to you as much as we care about kids who are doing well in math and reading and science and the inventors of the world. So that was fun. And then this is our LEAP Arts program, which started this year. This was a pilot program going this year. It's happening at Green Hills, Meadows, and Lameda, with discussions for it carrying on into all the schools next year. But this in particular is pictures of our hip hop dance class, and this is for all the 2nd and 3rd graders. Our kindergarten and 1st graders are doing creative movement, and our 4th and 5th graders are following our STEM focus, and they're doing architecture. So of course, as I mentioned, our 4th and 5th graders are gone at Coloma this year, and so this is a picture of them arriving in there, and that falls right along LCAP Goal 2, and learning in environments that provide differentiated approaches and engaging in meaningful learning experiences that spark intellectual curiosity and intrinsic motivation. So, our wonderful parent volunteers. So this is our group of parent volunteers that are all up at Coloma. And here are some of the daily activities that they've been doing today. They learned how to pitch a tent.
Skill to have.
Yeah.
You're done.
LCAP Goal 3, part of it is the safety of the school environment. So here, on the top, we have our firefighter assembly, our fire safety assembly. The firefighters from Millbrae came to do an assembly for us. And then our staff this year was also trained in CPR as well as how to use the AED devices by the Via Heart Project during one of our staff meetings. So this is our staff learning how to do chest compressions, followed with how to use an AED.
You can start early.
Yeah.
This is our 2nd grade students doing their annual dance performances. I do believe I showed you a video last year about this, but this is this year's performances. A little snippet of all of them. And you're probably looking at this picture wondering, why are all these kids in blue when it's Green Hills? And the answer to that is this is the MEF day at Green Hills. And you can see by the sea of blue and the swarm of kids around the MEF table that it went really well at our school site. So, and then part of our LCAP Goal 3 talks about community engagement. And so these are pictures from our Thanksgiving luncheon, which was very well attended. We had to eat in multiple shifts and every table was filled. So it's great. And we have to give a shout out to Food Services for hosting that. And that was it. Any questions?
Any comments Frank?
I have a quick question.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
Want to go, man?
Yeah, no, I'm going to go first. Leap art, is that like an art in action, or is that leap art is more of a everything that goes?
So it's actually an outside contractor. Green Hills used to do art in action, but however, this year we had trouble getting enough parent volunteers. We lost the person who kind of headed and coordinated the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so the decision was made to bring in an outside vendor. So we went, and consequently Meadows and Lomita were having the same issue.
Okay.
My understanding is that Spring Valley still has a very, a still functioning art and action program going, but it was,
Kind of.
we're discussing whether or not it should go district-wide or whatnot. I know we even talked about it today at our training. So, but this was our pilot year, so it happened at these three, and that was one of the classes. But each school actually got to choose what sessions they wanted for their kids. So I know over at Lomita, for instance, I think there's a drumming session, and I know there's something, so there's different things, and the teachers and staff had a say in what sessions they wanted. But for ours, it was those three. It was architecture, hip hop, and creative movement.
Okay. Thank you.
Nice.
Anyway, as always, thank you for the presentation. Your presentations are always not your out of the box thinking, which is great because curriculum, math, and English and writing is great. But it's always good to hear what else is going on outside of the classroom because all kids will, feel like they get to find what their niche is, at a young age. So thank you for that, and you guys are very lucky to have him. Thank you for all the parent volunteers because he can't do it without you. Thank you.
Frank?
Yeah. What a great presentation, Principal Fong. Leadership at the top is everything, and you are truly a superb leader. So thank you for that presentation. And you have some wonderful teachers. Miss Miranda, what a great presentation with content in it, where kids are actually, they're engaged. We're engaging our students, and we're getting parents involved. I love the program. I hope it spreads through the school district. I really do, but this was a great informational presentation. Thank you very much, both of you.
So the LEAP program, how are you feeling about this first year, this pilot year, in terms of did it meet all your expectations so far? And since you gave up art and action, does this take on a little bit different?
Actually, the kids are having a great time. Kids, are you enjoying hip-hop dancing? These are mostly second and third graders, and you can see by the smiles that they've been having a great time. I will say for the record, I wish it was longer. We only have it for 8 weeks, so I do wish we could extend the program to 10 or 12 weeks or beyond. But of course, funding isn't unlimited, but it's really been a joy to have on campus, just to have that well-rounded experience for kids. Things that our teachers wouldn't necessarily teach. Architecture, it's not one of those things that our teachers are equipped to teach. I mean, we don't have any former architects on campus, so, so yeah. And the people that are teaching dance actually do it professionally. So they're professional dancers that come and they teach us, and so that's really refreshing.
I've been able to see it in another school district, and it really is an amazing, because it's geared to all genres of art and presentations and music and the whole thing. So I think it's a really great program, and I hope that we continue it and maybe get it a little bit, go parcel tax. No, just kidding. The other thing is, Gina, what a great program. I mean, we were talking about STEM and STEAM, and that's what it's all about. And you're doing it with our elementary age students. Taylor just had their science fair, so you're really preparing them for the next go round. And so that was a great presentation, really great presentation. And thank you, Peter, for your leadership. I know Green Hills is just an amazing place, not just for students, but teachers really like to be at Green Hills. So that says a lot. So thank you.
Don?
Well, first of all, I'd certainly like to congratulate Principal Fong for really doing a wonderful job. We've been very blessed to have you and so many other wonderful principals here in this district. If I may, I'd like to draw a little parallel between the MEF Gala that you mentioned and tonight's performance or the presentation. At the gala, we had the MEF, the PTA, the school district, and the community as a whole all joining together. And you saw what a wonderful, wonderful amalgamation of talent and enthusiasm that brought together. And I think on a smaller scale, we have kind of the same thing here tonight. The administration, the teachers, the parents, and the kids. And what a wonderful product you've all created for this evening. So, this is a sign, I think, of, us as a community learning the strength that we have when we all join together and work towards the common goals. So I congratulate all of you. What a wonderful evening. Thank you very much for presenting it to us.
And I'll just add, thank you all for being here tonight to support the school. And Peter, thank you especially. I have a grandson now in the first grade, and he's amazed that you remember his name and stuff like that. So, and I know he's not special. I know you do that with all the kids, and I think it's a real gift. My granddaughter, my grandson, and my wife all went to Green Hills. So I have a special place in my heart for the school and facilities and teachers. So thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you for the great presentation.
Thank you.
We have a 10-minute break now, so we can enjoy some cookies over here. Please come and make sure that they're gone.
2, 3.
to go.
But then with my cooker yet.
No, she's just ready to go.
I'm just ready to go.
Are you ready? Okay, all right. Now let's reconvene our school board meeting after the wonderful presentation from Green Hills. And I will call upon Claire Beltrami to give us an update on the educational services area.
Oh, good evening, President Fema and Board of Trustees, Cabinet, and our audience here and at home. I'm going to spend a few minutes of your time tonight giving you a quick update on some of the items that my department's been working on for the past few weeks. So in keeping with our NGSS model, I know we just saw a great presentation from Green Hills in regards to their invention convention. I was able to visit this weekend the county fair. We had 23 entries from our Taylor Science Fair. There were 37 students total, and it was a wonderful event. It took place at the Expo Center in San Mateo Center, and it was really crowded. And so I was able to get and visit with some of our winners. So our students were actually there, and they were presenting to all of the visitors what their experiment or their project was. And they were articulating how their thesis was and their findings. And it was a really wonderful experience. A couple of our teachers were also there, so I was able to touch base with Ms. Dretz, who teaches 7th grade science at Taylor, and Mr. Koff, who teaches 8th grade science at Taylor. So these are just some pictures of the students in front of their presentation boards during this time. This is just a quick shot of how crowded it was. It was really, really difficult to get down some of the aisles because it was just impacted with people. It was a great turnout. They also had art exhibits from different schools, and they were all just really wonderful entries. It was hard to believe that these were our students that were creating some of those works of art. So it was a really successful fair. And then talking about science, I wanted to give you just a little update on what our TOSA is doing. So this year we have a .4 teacher on special assignment, Julie DeMaio, and she's been working to bring awareness to NGSS, Next Generation Science, to all of our teachers. And what she's created in order to support our teachers are Padlets. And a Padlet basically is a link that goes to a site where information is housed. So she's created 2 different Padlets, one for our middle school and one for our elementary. And this is what the middle school Padlet looks like. So teachers can go to this link, and on this link there's a variety of different topics and subjects that they can get information on in regards to NGSS. So depending on their grade level, they can go to a phenomenon-based scope and sequence. They can talk about general NGSS. They can get lessons. Here's a sample of a lesson that they could look at and use in their classroom. And then there's links to resources to get other materials to support the lesson that they're doing. So she's really been able to support the rollout and the awareness with our middle school teachers with Next Generation Science. And this is her elementary Padlet. And this is really interesting because what she's done is she's actually linked the Mystery Science that we purchased, which is a website, to actually the Wonders units. So in each of the grade levels, K through 5th, she's taken a look at all of the scope and sequence of Wonders, and she's actually put together the unit or the lesson with Mystery Science that would integrate with the Wonders unit. So that way teachers can have an opportunity to bring science to the time that they're teaching the Wonders unit. And if you click on any of these, you get a link to the Mystery Science page, and it also has a list of supplies and lessons that materials that you might need to set that up. So it not only gives them some tools to use, but it also helps them develop their lesson plans. So it's a wonderful resource for our teachers to be using too, to support both of these curriculum areas. And I also wanted to shout out to our curriculum and assessment coordinator, Debbie Connect, I'm sorry. I've been calling her Julie for the past couple of days. I don't know. She also has created a Padlet, and her Padlet is based mostly on different curriculum areas and things that we're working on. So this is a picture of her Padlet that she's created for all middle school and elementary school. And within the subject areas, teachers can access information and updates on what we're doing and how we're progressing with rolling out these new resources to them. She is also helping with our middle school curriculum in regards to our English language arts and our English language development pilot. We're using Amplify right now, and that's continuing. She's meeting with not only the teachers, but she's also helping support the teachers through bringing in the reps from Amplify, who has been on site for 4 days now, going into classrooms and supporting the teachers with the implementation of Amplify, because it is a one-to-one device. There's a lot of different things that teachers need to support and help with, and they've had a rep available to us 4 days now to come out and work with individual teachers, which has been a great support. Today, Debbie was able to go and visit another district where they have implemented Amplify last year, so she was able to visit classrooms and see how Amplify is being used in another district, and so that gave her more knowledge that she can now come back and share with our teachers at Taylor. We also are continuing our math pilot, where we're working with illustrative math and the CPM, the California Problem Mathematics. Physical education, we are looking at incorporating not only the standards, the California standards, such as motor skills, movement, health and performance, and psychological and sociological standards that are within the PE, but we're also looking at our California standards for health, because we're trying to see where these would overlay in the PE classes. So that was one of the directions that we want to take when we're looking at a PE curriculum for our adoption to you. We want to make sure that we're covering these health standards and somehow integrating them into the scope and sequence. So as you can see, the California health standards go from kindergarten through high school, and they go over a variety of different topics, and we want to make sure that we're addressing those somehow within our PE curriculum, even though this is a standalone framework also. So that's one of our tasks that we're working on before we move forward with adopting any PE curriculum. Our desired outcomes for our PE is to create the committee of elementary and middle school teachers so that we can incorporate these health standards into the physical education lessons where they're appropriate, because there's an overlapping in some of the needs that the students have in both of those. And once we've created a sequence where we are incorporating these health issues, then we will also bring that whole recommendation to the board to process them. Today is an exciting day. We've sent out our parent and staff surveys. I've worked with parents on recommendations of how we can increase our engagement for our surveys. Last year we had about 175 parents take our survey. My goal this year is to get up into the 200s. So we are calling the survey Your Voice Matters. And we're hoping that a lot of people will understand that we really rely on their feedback and their opinions to shape our LCAP and look at how we can improve our services to the students and to the community here in Millbrae. So we have two separate surveys going on. The first one is our staff survey, which also went out today, and our parent survey. So these will be live for the next 2 weeks. We'll close them on Friday, March 16th, and then we'll be compiling the results in order to bring that back to our LCAP and look at how we can shape some of our actions and services within the LCAP to see the needs that are being identified through our surveys. So that is the end of my presentation for tonight. Thank you, and I'm open for any questions or comments.
Anyone? Don?
So I applaud you for the staff and parent surveys, particularly for your choice of title, Your Voice Matters, because that is really part of the message that we always try to spread among everybody in the community. And that is, of course, part of the challenge, is getting people to participate. And I don't think sometimes people realize just even the smallest thing, like participation in a survey, that has an impact, that affects their kids and the district as a whole. So, whatever we can do to get people to at least participate in surveys, that in and of itself, is a nice step in participating in the well-being of our school district. So thank you.
I had help with the title.
Well, my takeaway tonight from your report, Claire, is Padlet. I learned about what a Padlet is. And I love the idea because I was always concerned about how our .4 teacher for NGSS, for science, is going to get around to everybody. And I think that's really a step in the right direction, is with the Padlets. Mm-hmm. So my next question was, or my only question actually, is the adoption for the physical education curriculum. When does that happen? What is the...
Well, like I said, I want to form a committee which has both the elementary PE teachers mm-hmm. and the middle school PE teachers, mm-hmm. and then we'll be meeting over the next few months. So I'm anticipating it'll be something we're working on next year mm-hmm. to bring it to actuality.
Yeah, because I'd like to know what programs are out there, because so many of them have been very archaic in terms of social, emotional, I forget some of the other categories, and
sociology.
Yeah, and for a program to cover all those areas, it's got to be pretty incredible. So mm-hmm. I'd be interested in seeing that. Yeah. Thank you.
Is that? I know last year they did a presentation, mm-hmm. and they had a curriculum from last year. Are we adopting that piece of document, or is it something different?
So this will be something different to what the PE department at Taylor, as part of their spotlight, they shared with you what they had created for their scope and sequence at Taylor. But in order to adopt a PE curriculum, I'm looking at our K through 8th. So I want to get our elementary teachers also involved with that, so it's not just solely for Taylor Middle School. And I also want to bring in these other components with our health standards, which we need to address because they're recommended from the state of California as curriculum. And I want to make sure that these standards are touched, somehow incorporated into our PE, since a lot of them overlap in areas. So I think it's very important that we address this as opposed to just the physical motion and activity aspects of PE, physical education. You also have to have your health and wellness in that too. Right. Social, emotional well-being, being able to get along with people in teams. I mean, there's a lot of different components that could be covered within that curriculum.
Healthy eating.
Yes.
Frank?
Yeah. Well, Lynn says the perfect phrase, my takeaway. My takeaway from your presentation was, I hear that our staff is going out into other school districts and looking to see what they're doing, and I think that's great. That's really strong. Yes. That they're leaving the classroom and they're going out and looking and learning, and that's fantastic. That and the science fair. I mean, to get the kids out of the classroom and get them into an environment like that is fabulous. So thank you.
Thank you.
One question on the PE program. Is there any advantage to reaching out to, say, Mills High School, PE department, La Garza, other people that we collaborate with mm-hmm. right now for physical education, and maybe including some of their ideas on an advisory council?
Right. I think that's a great idea. Okay. So we will
comment?
definitely incorporate that.
Sure. I had a conversation with Pamela Dzinski before the school board meeting tonight about PE, and she thinks it's a great idea for her PE people to get with our PE people and to get on the same level. Mm-hmm.
So articulation with the high school district.
Yes, so I just wanted to throw that out, that she really admires that and is behind that.
Great. I'm sure I'll have support with the Taylor administration, because I know they are articulating in other content areas with the high school. So besides the English language arts, math, and other areas, we can incorporate PE. It's a great idea.
We can help each other out.
Definitely.
Thank you, Claire.
Thank you.
Move now to the Facilities Advisory Committee report. Rick?
Skip something.
Moving right along.
Okay. Sorry. I was waiting for it to say superintendent report, and you know how you skip all that. I was like, I was looking down there. Trustees, we're having a facility advisory committee meeting this Thursday at the district office from 5 to 6:30. It's an open public meeting, so all those in attendance and on TV and in the district are welcome to come. Schoolworks, as you recall, will be starting to present their initial recommendations from site surveys, staff surveys, conversations with city officials, looking at our internal growth, our external growth, looking at cost funding, and going forward with our needs, and looking at the priorities, which you recall some of those priorities were site safety issues, internal issues as far as facility needs, and just intern growth. That, again, is this Thursday at 5 o'clock at the district office. If any trustees would like any takeaways from that meeting, I'd like to know today off the top of your head. I know 2 of you will be there in attendance anyway, so really just maybe the other 3. If you'd like to hear some questions that maybe are on the top of your mind that we could ask.
Be good.
We'll give it to me. Okay, great. Dynamite.
Will we have their report in our hands before the meeting, or is that going to be distributed at the meeting?
I have a draft right now, but it will be at the meeting. So, and then it'll be takeaway. So this is just the initial first step meeting, and then we'll have a public meeting, and then eventually a full-on board meeting before we have a final document to adopt and then move forward.
Any other questions?
Okay.
I have one quick question. Are we able to look back at the first 2 bonds that we did? Because we had a company come in and assess everything that we need to do. And we estimated about $105 million. But we only got 2 $30 million bonds. So that left a $45 million deficit as far as fixing things. Do we have any paperwork on what we didn't do, what we couldn't afford to do?
My recollection and data that came back is there was an assessment made by contractors at the time to fix certain things, which probably had an economic benefit to themselves to make these some recommendations. But as you know, our list and our wish list is infinite, but our checkbook is not.
Right.
So obviously we're going to have those same issues going into this facility study, but as you recall in presentation and approval, Schoolworks contract is they're the experts, they're engineers, they're the ones that are looking at it from outside of the general contractor view. So that's exciting because there's no real economic benefit for them to profit from it, so to speak. They're not the GCs.
Yeah.
So, but that data I did give to them and shared them at the very initial stage.
Okay.
So we have that.
We did have an engineering firm look at it. Maybe you could double check.
Yeah, we can double check, but my indication was not. So, but anyway, so yes. But to answer your question,
okay,
we'll be coming away with the same process.
We felt way short. You know, with $60 million, we felt really short.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Communications to the board. Speakers wishing to address the board on items on the agenda may complete speakers' cards and submit them to the board secretary. Speakers addressing specific items on the agenda will have the opportunity to address the board at the time of the agenda item in the meeting. If you are addressing the board on a non-agenda item, please be aware that the provisions of the Brown Act prohibit the board from acting or discussing such matters at this meeting. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person per topic. Do we have anyone from the MEA? Seeing no one. CSEA? Seeing no one. MEF? Seeing no one. Members of the community? Seeing some of us, but nobody here to speak, I don't think. Move then to trustee communication. And would you like to start, Maggie? Do you have some comments for us?
Sure. Well, it's been busy. As we've been seeing a lot of each other, but it's but it's good stuff because we have. A month ago, we passed our resolution for a parcel tax, which is exciting news, and we're in the middle of a campaign, and we had our campaign kickoff last Thursday, and it was very well attended. A lot of people showed up, and there's a lot of support and energy, and we just hope to continue getting more support and endorsements, and hopefully, we'll be celebrating on June 6th, 310 Broadway. Anyway, and then of course we had our MEF night gala, which is amazing, very successful. I think it exceeded everybody's expectation. Sorry, Yvonne, I'm taking your update. But anyway, this is where we at in our district. I mean, the energy and support from the community members. We're at a point where I started this with Janetta 5 years ago with the PTA Council, and it's actually finally happening. So we're just finally transitioning over, and this is the beginning of something new. So I'm very excited about that. So I got an email today. Now that we're in the middle of a campaign on, can't read my writing. March 23rd, Kevin Mullen and Jerry Hill are doing an open house at the San Mateo office for any questions, ideas, suggestions, recommendations. So it's at 4:30, and if any of us can show up, and again, our message to them as school boards, all of our San Mateo school districts are talking our one voice, that what you just said, our voice matters because they need to know that budget is really important money. All of our schools across the San Mateo School District and all around are struggling with the same things we are, and that's finances, money. So if you guys can make it, that would be great.
What day is it?
That's it. It's the...
Is it March?
It's in March, yes. 4:30 to 23rd.
23rd. In their San Mateo office?
San Mateo office. Kevin Mullen, Jerry Hill.
Okay.
Yeah. Ideas, questions, it's just an open, discussion. So.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Frank?
Well, it feels really good to be here. It really does. My family was saying, look how excited he is. Were you going to a school board meeting? I said, yeah. Look how excited. But had a lot of fun the last 2 weeks. Vaughn, I have you on Facebook. Not really. But I do have the video of you. It's gonna cost you a lot of money to turn it in.
Fashion runway.
But on a different note, next month, next televised meeting, I just sent Vaughn a list of firemen that we're going to accommodate. And so next month, we're going to have these firemen come in, 8 of them, and we're going to give them accommodations. And I think that Colonel Kevin Merrick will be here to talk about what the fire department is doing for the schools and how they want to reconnect and connect a little stronger with our school district and with the Mills. Okay? So that's all I have.
Thanks, Frank. Lynn?
I'm going to send you the flyer.
I know your name.
Don't call me by my name, excuse me.
Don't call me by my name.
Well, I have been notorious for stealing Vaughn's thunder about all the wonderful things that are happening. So, Maggie, I'm glad you did it this time. We do have to stop meeting like this, though. I mean, it's just been 2 weeks, and then our meetings, and then this Friday, we're looking forward to the Lunar New Year, so we'll all be there for that. That's always a really fun evening. But again, I'm so appreciative to our community because they're coming out in so many ways to support our students, our families. It's just it just fills your heart when you see all these things happening, and it's been a long time coming, and I'm glad to have seen it develop over the last many years, and I'm glad we're at the spot where we are now. So good job, everybody. Good job, administration down at the district office. Vaughn, you continue to amaze us. How you can do all these things and run the district at the same time just blows my mind. Parcel taxes, galas, you name it. You're always there. So thank you for that.
Well, the last 2-3 weeks have certainly been amazing. Probably the most amazing sight, of course, was Vaughn on the runway. It's indelibly etched in my mind forever.
Years to come.
I'm still in there.
I got it all on my camera right here.
I just want to know how many likes you have on Twitter now. So, I think the biggest thing that I've really appreciated about the last 3 weeks is I think the impact on some of the folks that have been on the sidelines, kind of wanting to see what was going to happen. And for them to see that kind of support, at our gala, knowing that we were actually exceeding the original capacity and that there were people that could not get in, I think speaks volumes to others. And when they see the kind of universal acceptance and buy-in. We had people here tonight from Green Hills that, 3-4 years ago, I don't know that they would have been so vocal about, their support, but they're here. And for everyone that steps up and says, hey, that was a great event, I want to participate in it, somebody else that's been standing on the sideline, maybe now they think, maybe I need to step up and help out too. And that's how these things grow. And I think that's what's been happening over the last several years. And, we've said this before, but I don't think we can say enough about the role that, our superintendent has played in this transformation. It's been an exciting ride the last few years. And Vaughn, I take my hat off to you once again. Thank you.
Well, I too was impressed with the interpretive walking of our superintendent. You brought style to the runway as you do to the school district, so really thank you for that. You look great up there. You really did. All kidding aside. I join with my colleagues in thanking our community for continuing to support our school district. Lynn and I have been on this board for, I think, about 6 years or so, and I've never seen such an outpouring of community support. We've always segmented our market in terms of, is it parents or teachers or PTAs or MEF, and they've always been in little boxes in my mind, and for once, I really see everybody coming out from behind whatever they've been behind. And I just thank the Millbrae community and our own parent volunteers especially for making us shine. And again, that's under the leadership of Vaughn and his staff. So thank you all for that. I wanted to say a quick word too. Frank made a comment about how glad he is to be here. And I know that in his absence, many nice things were said about him, but I think officially I just want to welcome you back, of course, and to tell you that you were missed and that we're so glad that you're with us because, in my mind, you're kind of the heart and soul and certainly the emotion of our board. And so you bring so much to the table. And, I'm so grateful to have you back. And I know all of us feel the same way for you. So thanks for keeping on.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Frank. Thanks. Okay. Now we will move to our superintendent, if you can top that. Our superintendent's report.
Let's see how you walk up there.
Could you come back and do that again?
Good evening,
Can
President.
I get the John Travolta music piped in? John.
Good evening, President Fama and trustees. Tonight I have some awesome updates, I have to admit, because many of you spoke to the gala. And I can't say enough, because I woke up on February 25th not tired from that night, but really appreciative, because what the gala really marked was more than just a night out with community members. It was more than a night out with colleagues and friends, and it was more than just what the net proceeds are, and it's a compliment, it's a shout out. I remember the first email that was sent out to announce the tickets. It was a very nervous week for our Tiffany and Natalie when I called to say, hey, what was the result of the first email? And I don't know if it was Natalie, Tiffany, or Maura, but they stated to me, they're like, Vaughn, we only sold 10 tickets. This is December. And I said, no worries. We have January and a little bit of February. I was a little nervous because it was the first event, but nonetheless, we're here today. And it was a very successful February 24th, first annual gala for the MEF. And I say that because we owe them a congratulations. As a matter of fact, tonight we were invited to go and celebrate with the chairs and the folks who promoted and made this night possible. These are all volunteers. These folks came to the district office, to each other's homes, brought their kiddos with sleeping bags to ensure that every name was perfect, to ensure that we had every meal ticket that was appropriate for the selection for that evening. There was a point where I received an email and a text that stated, may we please seat this person at your table because we're oversold. And I said, absolutely. And when those texts and messages kept going back and forth, I knew that this night would be a celebration. And so once again, shout out. Here's some pictures. I wanted to get photos of all of you, but unfortunately from the link, I was not able to find every single person. So it's not about how we look up here, but it was just about what I was able to find. In terms of the net proceeds, $135,000. That is way above our expected ask. And in terms of the total dollar amount, we are currently at $469,000, which means for us, we're able to continue the programs that we currently have. And now we get to not only talk about expanding, but we're also talking about exploring some enrichment programs. Just a few photos. I wanted to add the founders. When I saw them and when I stood at the podium speaking to them, it really, they were the ones. They started this particular establishment and the foundation itself. And without them, we would not have been celebrating that evening. So certainly a shout out to them as well. A lot of folks are asking, what next? Because the goal for MEF for this particular school year was $400,000. And just to bring some context to where we've been, last year the MEF wrote a check to the school district for $348,000, which covered the existing programs. That is a full-time elementary music teacher, a 50% band teacher at the elementary school. We were also able to fund a 1.0, a full-time technology teacher / coach at the elementary, and a 0.8 teacher and coach at the middle school. And with carryover, we were also able to bring back the 0.2 with Dr. Gonzalez at the middle school. And so those positions and those programs will continue. They may not look exactly the way they have been because we as a district, as well as information that will be shared with the board in our next meeting, we will talk about the existing core programs, also taking a look at expanding should that be a desire of the cabinet and the board, and then taking a look at exploring enrichment programs. one of the items that we will bring back to the board on March 20th, which is our second board meeting in March, we're going to revisit truly what our LCAP goals are, which dictates the work that we do, the decisions that we make. And in turn, this information will be taken back to the Millbrae Foundation's board on March 22nd. They have requested that we bring and we spotlight some of the programs that have existed. I certainly want to take a look at what our core programs are, and we will, with conversations with the board on March 20th at our next board meeting, we'll take direction from the board as well in regards to the recommendations that we make to the Millbrae Education Foundation on March 22nd. And you're invited to that evening as well. We plan to have dinner at 5, and the program will start at 6 p.m. on the 22nd. That's the Thursday after our Tuesday board meeting.
Where will that be?
Tentatively planned for H7 at the district office, dependent on how many RSVPs. If we have more guests, we've extended our invitation to PTA and PTO presidents, as well as their executive boards. And then we're going to take a look at the RSVPs to make sure that we can accommodate all our guests. As you know, trustees, I've been working on 2 committees alongside Trustee Ferrario. And the first committee, just quick updates. We have our next meeting, which is on Thursday. It's a kindergarten committee. The 3 items that we're entertaining as part of the committee work is 1, continuation of the current program, and that is the students are dismissed at 1:15. And we're taking a closer look at how we provide intervention to those kids. And to extend, one of the things I'm learning, many of you know that I attended a 2-day conference in Concord on MTSS, and my mindset shifted. And one of the takeaways from the 2-day was, are we effectively using our kindergarten teachers when the students are dismissed? And how are we selecting those students to continue the enrichment that they do currently? Are those the right students? Did we use data to ensure that those are the students we need to intervene? Trustee Ferrario, as you remember, one of the components from the extension program of the current program is that we provide services for students who are advanced. Are those the students that we need to intervene? So those are the discussions that we're having on Thursday, because I think that it's a powerful setup to intervene with the right group of students to ensure that we're addressing and utilizing the resources that we have. And our kindergarten teachers, when students are dismissed at 1:15, they are the most powerful resources that we have from 1:15 to 2:30. And let's talk about how we take next steps. The second option that we have been discussing is to lengthen the day to 2:15 or 2:30 with the entire kindergarten classroom. As you know, we took a survey with our parents. It's a mixed bag in terms of, do they feel our kinder students should go until 2:15 or 2:30? And then we took a survey with our current kindergarten teachers, and it's also a mixed bag. And so we have some discussions on Thursday. No decisions have been made. And lastly, we also are going to hash out, this was a homework item for our for our principals and our kinder teachers. Have we looked at other best practice models in other districts? And so when our discussion takes place again on Thursday, we're bringing back items. My charge was to have conversations with Superintendent Maggie McIsaac from Burlingame to inquire about why they went away with early bird, late bird. We do have a call scheduled before Thursday. And so I will bring that to the table, and my hope is that our kinder teachers will bring that as well. So no decisions have been made. We are still vetting out the pros and cons to the existing, the possibility of lengthening, and also, are there any other best practice models that we can consider. The second committee that I'm working on is the homework committee that we're working on. Trustee Ferrario, is a homework committee. And originally we went in with this committee is going to determine if Millbrae School District has homework or not. That was the first entry point. But as we hashed out and as we brought in research, as we talked to our neighbors, that wasn't the direction that we are planning to take. The direction that we are planning to take is to take a look at what board policy really means. The three components of our board policy as listed are the Millbrae School District vision and purpose of homework, the second component, responsibilities, and the third component, guidelines. Our team, our committee, is only working on the first component, which is the Millbrae School District vision and purpose of homework. Behind this particular slide in your packet is a snapshot of the conversation that we've had. As you know, we have an existing board policy in place. How this is outlined is if the print is in black, it's the existing. If it's been taken out, there's a strike through the language. And if it's in blue, the text has been, the conversations that we've had as a committee, as a team, we would like the board to consider. And so when we come back for the I believe March 26th committee meeting, we're going to discuss these components and solidify the purpose before we move on to the responsibilities portion of the board policy. And lastly, here are some district updates. We have spring conferences that are scheduled for March 12th through the 20th. Parents, our elementary sites will dismiss at 1:15 on all of those days. We look forward to those conferences. March 10th, Spring Valley is holding their Heritage Day dinner at 5 p.m. March 15th is Taylor's Career Day. Mr. Hoffman has put in so many hours, and it is going to be an exciting time. I do believe some trustees are presenters that day as well. If your time allows, please stop by. There's going to be a lot of visitors and guests throughout the day. I do believe it's going to be a pretty amazing experience for our kiddos. March 20th is our regular scheduled board meeting. March 24th, just received this in your packets, but you do have invitations to the Meadow Crab Feed at 6 p.m. There's activity and a reception before in the Chakotay room beginning at 5, and then the transition to the Crab Feed at the Shea Center. I do believe I put that twice just so that our families don't forget that conferences are coming up. That's my update for tonight.
Thank you, Vaughn.
Thank you.
Any questions, comments?
So, Vaughn, I'm very interested in your comments regarding the homework committee, and you kind of brought up something that we talked about at the last board meeting. So, as a parent, I'm certainly, very cognizant of homework. I personally believe that homework is a very valuable tool, but I also am concerned with how we transition from Taylor to the high schools. I'm certainly glad to see the amount of collaboration that we've got going on now at different levels between ourselves and Mills. So I would ask that if it's not already being looked at, that we look at the collaborative and joint process that our kids go through, because there should be some alignment between how we do it here versus what they can expect to see at Mills, because I say Mills because that's where most of them are going to go, in terms of our philosophy of how homework is going to be done and how collaboration is done. Because I think one of the universal challenges or concerns that parents have is with the current trend of kids doing projects collaboratively, both in and out of the classroom. And there is no doubt in my mind that that's a very valuable experience for the real world, which is part of what we're trying to get at. But in terms of kids wanting to participate, I think it's a adverse effect for some kids when they are teamed up with people that are not of the same mindset as they are in terms of, wanting to participate and being responsible. And I mean, I understand there is no easy answer to it. I'm not opposed to the idea, but I think, in terms of how it's applied from one level of school to another, there needs to be alignment. And I also think that, maybe we should look at the concept of a weighted grade for a collaborative project, because that's what the kids complain about. I did 90% of the work, and we only ended up with a B- because nobody else was collaborating or doing any of the work. And that's not right on multiple levels, So, maybe there's a way to weight it. If a teacher recognizes that, hey, this person did the majority of the work, maybe they should get, it should be recognized in the score that person receives. And then, there's a score for the group as a whole. But I think, we want to try to encourage our kids to want to be part of a collaborative process. I don't want to see my kids leaving high school not wanting to collaborate, because, half the time they really don't want to collaborate. And that's not healthy when they get to the real world, where they're going to have to collaborate. That's my thought.
If I can add a piece, Trustee Ravello, you make a really great point. As I shared earlier, there are 3 components to board policy, to this particular board policy, one being our vision and purpose of homework. I do ask that trustees take a look at some of the components that we've listed. One of the takeaways for me from this committee was if we were to go out and have conversations with our teachers, and this was demonstrated in the survey, what is your purpose of homework? I would argue that you would see variances in terms of responses. And so this is an opportunity to set the vision and the purpose of homework at the board level. I believe that that's the importance of board policy. The other component is responsibilities, and we will hash that out the next time we meet. That I will bring back again when we have conversations about changing the language in the responsibilities piece. Trustee Ravello, one of the pieces of responsibilities is you do hold the superintendent, you do hold ed services, the leads of ed services and student services, and our principals responsible. What would you like to see in the the component of responsibilities? I've seen in certain board policy, it states the superintendent and or designee will be responsible to communicate the board policy to the staff every year, annually, ensuring that there's collaboration with XYZ or this group of folks. And then to speak to your point, the last component of the homework policy are guidelines. And guidelines, in one board policy, Trustee Ferrario, if you can chime in, there's information about how we set the specifics for weekend homework, long-term projects, to the specifics of how we grade. I know that I've had a conversation with Trustee Musa about makeup work and what type of grade is allowed or not. And so those 3 components of this homework policy is extremely powerful. And tonight, the takeaway is, if trustees, this is your work in terms of setting policy. If there are items in the mission and vision of the purpose, please shoot me an email, send me your recommendations, and send me your thoughts, because we then bring it back to the committee. We then will take a look at responsibilities and guidelines, and this will be mapped up for you as well. Trustee Ferrario, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that as well.
I just wanted to bring up a point that may seem minor, but when you call something a homework policy, it has kind of a negative impact or a negative meaning. We're looking at maybe changing that to outside learning at home, or outside learning experiences, so that it relates more to what you're doing in the big picture rather than something specific. We're also looking at not using a timeline. Our board policy says 5 minutes for kindergarten and this and this and this, and it's not a matter of minutes. It's a matter of what are you doing, actually. And then I think, to speak to Trustee Ravello's comment about collaborative assignments, outside of school, that maybe more of those assignments should take place in the classroom so that it can be monitored by the teacher rather than assigning it and saying get together with your team outside of school, because then that makes it a little bit more difficult. So that's something. We're also having a speaker come, is it next time, Vaughn? And I don't know whether you have her name handy. I don't either, but she's very well versed in policy and different types of homework, board policies in different districts, and the meaning of, what is it we're trying to get across with kids in assigning homework. So that should be really interesting. So it's all good. It's a lot of good stuff happening.
Just a quick comment. I see a challenge with the teachers. When I talk to teachers, and for a long time now, they all have different methods and different ideas about homework, how much it should be, how intense it should be. So how do we bring them along? Are they part of the committee? Or how do we get them to change? Like when the committee comes back and says, this is what we want to do, how do you make the teachers change the way they teach, like in what they really want to do?
So there were a couple points to that, but the first one is the board really sets policy. And this particular policy, how it reads today, is that if I'm a teacher in the Millbrae School District, I may give homework up to, which really tells you that I don't have to give homework. And so I may give homework up to 5 minutes for my kindergartners. I may give homework up to 60 minutes for my sixth graders. And so that's how the current board policy reads now, in that the district personnel will establish and form a team to create the homework plan. And that homework plan, I can't say that I was a part of that even 10 years ago. I believe it existed prior to 10 years ago. But in short conversations with teachers, they stated, Vaughn, that was written many, many moons ago. And so how it's written today and how it's followed is what you're alluding to, and that is, it depends on who's reading it. It depends on who's administering it. Two different pieces. Certainly, when we create board policy, we form committees with the various stakeholders. We do have a parent on that committee. We have teachers from every campus on that committee. We have a trustee. We have myself on that committee. And the work of the committee members is to go out to get feedback, to get buy-in at the first level, which is the vision setting. As we develop the responsibilities and the guidelines, the work of the committee members is to ensure that they take that work out to the sites, to ensure that they get those voices and they get that feedback. And when it is fully hashed out and presented to the board, I would hope that you would ask questions regarding which stakeholders played a part in this, how did you get input from those who were not part of the committee, and also what are some concerns that we see. Because when board policy is brought forward and approved, remember we have a first reading and then we have a second reading and approval, then it is written as a policy. Therefore, we can hold accountability through policy, and that would be the steps that we would take, ensuring that.
Is that committee that you have, are they working on teachers communicating with each other? I know that at Mills High School, the big complaint is that Thursday is test day, and there's 3 or 4 tests going on, and so the kids are slammed. Are we working on something like that at a middle school level?
Bill Hoppan is working on that to a large degree, because that has come up. And they're really working hard on making sure that the students are not given so many assignments by, the core academic courses, so that, they're not inundated with, not just the minutes involved, but the books that they have to carry home for these assignments. So yeah, he really is addressing it. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
I just had one suggestion. This works in high school, and I think it would probably work at the middle school, but part of collaborative projects is the self-regulation of the members, that they need to take responsibility for how to handle that one student who isn't pulling their own weight or somebody else is taking over. So it's about team dynamics. And just as a general rule, I've seen it work very effectively once the kids get over the feeling that I don't want to report this or I don't want to report that. But if you make that part of the collaborative curriculum, if you will, that these kids will regulate themselves, I think that responds to some of the things that Don brought up, that you don't feel like you're left out doing all the work and not getting the credit. So,
and excuse me, Dennis, that's a real teachable skill. And that's why we do that at the real elementary levels. In kindergarten, you're teaching or exposing kids to turning and talking and being a part of, every group member has a task, whether you're the timekeeper, you're this. So that's a real teachable skill, and I think we have to pay more attention to that. And then maybe in the upper grades, it might, work itself out.
Thank you. Okay. We now have the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Gonzalo moves. Second. Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda is accepted. District business resolution number 171810. Would you like to address this?
Yes. Thank you, President Fama. Trustees, staff's bringing forth Resolution 1718-10, calling for fair and full funding of California public schools. Trustee Musa mentioned a little bit in her comments about the need for better funding and increased funding in school districts. So this resolution, I'm not going to read all the whereas, but basically the highlights, this is in support of the California School Boards Association, really bringing forth that even though over the last couple of years with the implementation of the LCFF funding program and full funding projected to be for next year, just bringing the school districts back to the 07-08 purchasing power. As we know, inflation and just the cost of doing business in our district has skyrocketed, that this is willfully underfunded. And for California being one of the wealthiest states in the nation, and some would argue 7th in the world for economy, that California currently ranks 41st nationally in per pupil funding, nearly $2,000 below the average, and $7,000 per student below the top 10. And so this resolution is in support, and I hope with this will be one of 1,100 other resolutions coming from school districts from the tip to toe to side of California. It is staff's recommendation for approval and going forth with this resolution.
Okay, may I have a motion for approval? Any discussion before the second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Approval of the 2017-18 certificate of seniority list.
Trustees, this is an annual item for your approval. It's our 17-18 certificated seniority list. Each certificated staff has had the opportunity to review the components of the seniority list, and after verification, if any corrections needed to be made, they were made. And so tonight we bring this for your approval.
Motion for approval.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Approval of 2017-18 CSEA senior certificate.
Trustees, this is the annual approval of the 17-18 CSEA and classified seniority listing for our team members. Each staff of CSEA has also verified the accuracy of such a report, and we're bringing forward this for approval.
Motion to approve? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Future agenda items. I'd like to see if we can't reschedule our delayed presentation to City Council about how schools are funded. As you know,
Is your mic
we were
on?
on the agenda.
There you go.
Everything's going on. So I'd like to make sure we get that back on track or something. Okay? Sure.
We're ready.
Yeah, the timing is. I just want to make sure that we do it sooner rather than later.
We would like to share with the board that for the next March 13th, and the remaining, they've been scheduled at Taylor Middle School, and so our understanding is that there will be a large show up and crowd as well, and so we'll take the temperature to see when best timing is. Okay.
Okay. Any other business? Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Thank you.
Friday night, yes.
Thank you so much.